Hello and welcome to another video. Today I will show you a comparison between the StartActivityForResult, and this is a deprecated method, and the current ActivityResultLauncher. So you can see how it used to be implemented and how it's implemented now, and what we will actually do. And don't worry, it's still going to be the easy way as always. We will take this application, and this is a regular, very simple app that has two activities, activity 1 and activity 2. In the first activity, we have two numbers which the user can input. And when the button calculate is pressed, these two numbers are sent to activity 2, where either add or subtract can be selected to add or to subtract the numbers. The result will be sent back to activity 1 and displayed. The first implementation will be with StartActivityForResult, and the second one will be ActivityResultLauncher. This is just going to be a fast explanation, so I will not take you step by step through building the application. If you want to see how to build this app from scratch, from zero, I have a half-an-hour video explaining every step of the way, but it's only for the ActivityResultLauncher, for the new method. For this older version, the StartActivityForResults, I'm just showing you the code. I'm explaining a little bit what's happening there. And I will show you the new version, and again, some explanations, but not in very much detail. So let's move to Android Studio and see how the code looks like and how it's executed. In order to make this video shorter, and because this StartActivityForResults is already deprecated, I will just show you how it used to be, and then I will show you how it is now. And you can just compare it and see whatever works best for you. Because StartActivityForResult you can still use, and if you build applications with it, they will run for older versions of the Android operating system. But as you have seen in my other video, because I have a video from A to Z showing how to build this application from scratch, I will not repeat too much. I will just show you, this is the activity 1, and this is the main activity source code. Here you have the classes imported, you have the onCreate method, and you have the code associated with the button calculate, this button that the user presses whenever he wants to move to the second activity and calculate something with these two numbers that have been entered. And in this method, we reference the text views, the edit text objects, and then we check to see what's inside, if we have valid numbers entered, if they are not empty. Then we convert whatever was entered to the integer variables. We create an intent, and we put these two values inside that intent. And we open, or we start the second activity, this main activity 2, the second activity, we started by using StartActivityForResult, and we pass the intent, this one, created, and a request code. Now, this is the old way. The request code is something that you choose for yourself. It can be 1, 2, 7, 20, whatever you want, and it will be used later on when you return from the second activity, when you have to do something with the result you receive, and this is when you will use that request code, but we'll come back to it in a moment. So you start the second activity, you are taken to this screen, you have the second activity, you have the two numbers being displayed, and you can choose what to do. You want to add, you want to subtract. The code looks like this, and the code stays the same. So the only thing that changes is in the main activity, the second activity will have the same code in the older version, in the StartActivityForResults, and in the newer version, which is the ActivityResultLauncher. So what we do, you have the integer variables, you have the onCreate method, you take the two values which have been sent through the intent. So you reference them by the keys, or by the, what I call them, labels. You display them, of course, and then you move to the two buttons, add or subtract. And what happens is quite similar, with the exception of the actual mathematical operation. In the first case, the result will be the two numbers being added. Then you display on a little toast message what you have done. The numbers have been added. You create a new intent, you pass the context, you indicate the activity which you want to open, which is the first activity. You put the result in that intent, and you say result OK. In the previous video, the one where I showed you this app being built from zero, from scratch, I explained what's the deal with this result code. It can be either -1, 0, or 1 and above. It will signify either result OK, result cancel, or custom result. If you want to know more about it, check my previous video about this application being built the new way from scratch. Then you just say finish, you terminate this activity. The second button, the subtract, is the same with the exception of the minus between and the different intent. So at this moment, you go back to the first activity because you click the button, you do all these steps, the activity is finished, and you are sent back to the first activity. And in the old way, in the StartActivityForResults way, what you would do, you would overwrite this method, the onActivityResult method, and you would have this request code, the result code, and the intent data. So this request code is the one set above, 1, 2, 3. This result code is the one I've talked about earlier, the result OK or canceled, and the intent data. This is an intent, and it holds the information, the actual result being sent back. Okay, so what happens automatically when you return to this activity? You will have the text view being referenced. It will be checked if the request code is the same as the one you used when creating the activity over here, StartActivityForResult. Then the result code will be checked if it's result OK, and if everything checks out, then the result will be saved in this variable and displayed on the screen in the text view. If the result is not OK, is canceled, then we have a different message saying nothing selected. Okay, so this is the old way. It still works, and I will show you how it looks. I have my virtual device selected, and I press run. The application is now loaded into the virtual device in the emulator. And as you can see, we have the first activity. We can enter a number, let's say 5, and then we enter a 7. We click on calculate, and we have the 2, 5, and 7 numbers being sent to activity 2. And if we add them, the result is 12, and we are sent back to activity 1. And if we want to calculate again, and this time we subtract, we will have -2. And we have, I don't know how well you could see, we have the toast messages telling us what happened. With this app running correctly, we can stop it. And we can do the necessary modifications to implement the new way for activities, for results. And this is how it will look. We go to the main activity file, and we need this entire method on activity result. I'll just leave it for now for you to see, but I will comment it from here, from above. Okay, so this is not going to be executed any longer. And we come here in the main activity on top of the onCreate, and this is what we will put instead. So I will not explain it to a lot of details because I have a dedicated video about this. What I will do right now, I will include all these classes so we don't have these errors. Right now, I have imported all the necessary classes, and what we actually do, we have this activity result launcher instead of the StartActivityForResults. We have an intent, we have this activity launcher, which is the name I gave. You can give whatever name you want over here. And you register for activity results. You have a new activity result contract starting ActivityForResult. And you overwrite this on activity result. This is when you write this code, the method will be overridden automatically and it will be empty. I've just populated this content, this code, to be executed when we return from the second activity back to the first with the result of the mathematical calculation. So what we do, just like before, if you will see here, we have pretty much the same, the text view, and then we check the codes and we show the result. And this is something similar. We have the text view instantiated, we check the result code, and then we have to check the content of the intent to see what we received. And we have to check also if the information being sent, the intent is not null. And if everything checks out, then we get the result by using this key or the label, and we put the result, the one that was calculated in activity 2, in this variable to be displayed in the text view. If this doesn't check out, the result is not okay, is probably canceled, then we have a different message being displayed saying nothing selected. So this is the new way. And when we launch, instead of saying StartActivityForResult, we would say something different. It will be ActivityLauncher like this. ActivityLauncher.launch and the intent. This Activity Launcher is, let me show you this one over here, the one that you can name as you please. Okay, let's run this app and see if it behaves the same. As you have noticed, we didn't change anything in activity 2. So this code stays the same as before. Let's try it out. We have the same activity with the same objects. We didn't change anything regarding the appearance, just the code. So if we put this time, let's say number 3 and number 1, and we say calculate, we are sent to the second activity with the 2 numbers. We can choose to add them, in which case the result will be 4, or we can choose to subtract. And let me just increase this a little bit so you can see. We choose to subtract, and then we have the numbers have been subtracted, and we have the result number 2. So right now you see that the application behaves just as before. The only difference is that instead of using StartActivityForResults, we now use ActivityResultLauncher. So we don't use the deprecated method anymore, we use this new one. I hope this is useful for you and that you have learned something new today. Until we meet in the next video, keep practicing, keep learning, and thank you for watching. Take care.